Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I am back with another episode in our Road to Rank series where I climb the online VGC 15 ladder. Today I'm still using the same mixed Mega Salamence I've been using, along with Sylveon, Rotom Wash, Bisharp, Landorus T, and Thundurus, to get myself hands on a nice bulky Thundurus. I'm going to be trying that out. Unfortunately, it doesn't have Hidden Power Ice. This one has good IVs, but doesn't have HP Ice, so I'm running Swagger instead. First opponent of the day is going to be a 1663 rated player from Japan. My opponent's going to have a team of Florges, Ferrothorn, Salamence, Lucario, Rotom Heat, and Gastrodon. Really interesting team. Lucario and Salamence obviously the two potential Megas. Florges as one of the rare Fairy type users, but still a very powerful and threatening one. Pretty scary team in general. He's also got Gastrodon, which of course is super bulky. My question is whether Salamence or Lucario are Mega. Which one's the Mega? Are both Mega? And either of them the non-Mega variant? Because they can both be threatening in Mega and non-Mega form. So I don't want to take Ice type attacks from that Gastrodon, so knocking out Gastrodon is going to be pretty important to me. Sylveon's actually a pretty safe lead here, other than the Ferrothorn. I'm going to lead with Sylveon and Salamence, actually. Which feels pretty good, yeah. Because the only thing that really threatens Sylveon is the Ferrothorn, and to counter that, bring Salamence, which has a Fire-type attack. In the back, Bisharp is solid in this matchup, and for my last one, I'm thinking Landorus or Rotom Wash. Leaning towards Landorus, though. The Rotom Wash actually has a really good matchup here as well. It can beat the Rotom Heat, can Will-O-Wisp everything. It can take attacks from the Salamence. But the thing is, Landorus gets me more offensive pressure with its attacks. But I'm going to go with, Landorus, I think. Actually, no. Rotom Wash, because otherwise my Rotom Heat matchup is pretty darn bad. So, I'm going to go with Salamence and Sylveon. And of course, Sylveon gets access to Helping Hand as well, which mine carries. It's a Life Orb Helping Hand variant. So I could potentially use that to pick up some KOs using Salamence and Sylveon. So I'm going to lead with the Salamence and the Sylveon, as he goes with his Florges and Ferrothorn. Pretty interesting lead matchup there, as I am going to get the Intimidate off onto the Ferrothorn, which is actually, because Florges has its ability Flower Veil, not going to do anything. This first turn I can actually go straight for the Helping Hand and the return onto Florges, which is I think what I'm going to go for. He's probably going to protect the Ferrothorn this first turn and try to get a Fairy-type attack off against the Salamence. So he's probably not going to expect this coming. He's going to stay in with both of his Pokemon, though, so we'll see whether it went for a Protect or not. But Salamence here is going to get the Mega Evolution off. Let's see what he goes for. Sylveon does get that Helping Hand. Of course, Helping Hand goes before Protect's animation, which always scares me. He is going to protect Ferrothorn. Call it. Perfect. As Salamence here is going to get the return boosted by Helping Hand. Oh, and it doesn't pick up the knockout. That is really unfortunate, as it gets a Moonblast off against Salamence, but that's not going to KO me, as it heals a bit back from leftovers. That was a scary turn there. If I had picked up the KO, that would have been really nice. I wasn't sure whether it could, and that might prompt me to run Double Edge in the future, because of course Double Edge would have picked up the KO. So now the question is whether he switches out or not. I'm going to go for the Hyper Voice with Sylveon, and I'm really tempted to predict the Ferrothorn to switch out. But I need to play this carefully, because I need to conserve Salamence if I want to effectively beat the Ferrothorn. Of course, I can just Hyper Voice, and I really want to fire. Actually, I can just return the Ferrothorn, I guess. Even if it switches out, anything coming in is going to take a lot of damage. The question is he going to leave a Ferrothorn in on my two Pokemon? No, I think he knows it's too important to switch out. So I'm going to Hyper Voice and just go for the return onto Florges. Oh, he is going to stay in, though. Dang, nice play by my opponent. So at least I knock out the Florges there with the return. I'm going to get a Hyper Voice off here too, but he's probably going to take out my Salamence. Though he might target the Sylveon with the Steel-type attack as well, so I guess we'll see. As I'm going to take my Life Orb Recoil there. He's going to go for the Gyro Ball. Who does it target, though? Target Sylveon, okay. Oh, wow, that picked up the KO. Did not expect it to do that much damage even after an Intimidate, but I guess that shows how surprisingly offensive Ferrothorn is, and wow. Very smart on my opponent to leave it in. He's going to bring in his own Salamence, but I brought in Bisharp here, so that's going to give me the Defiant boost, which of course is really, really nice. So things aren't looking too bad despite that last turn, because I can just knock off the Ferrothorn Slipot and Draco Meteor his Salamence. And he's got to protect with Salamence, because otherwise I just outspeed it. Actually, under that logic, I can Fire Blast the Ferrothorn so I don't break my Bisharp's Focus Sash. And go for the Iron Head onto Salamence. Actually, I'm going to go for the Sucker Punch Fire Blast. Well, the question is whether Salamence protects or not, but you'd have to think it really is going to protect here. It would be ridiculous for it to do anything else. Alternatively, I can Fire Blast and knock off the Ferrothorn slot, knowing it might switch out, because he's probably not going to want to stay in. So, you know what? I'm going to double up on the Ferrothorn slot. And that is going to be Mega Salamence. I'd be very surprised to see it not protect here. I guess we'll find out, though. And if he doesn't protect with either, I'll at least be able to knock out Ferrothorn with the Fire Blast. Yep, he is going to protect with Salamence, though. I mean, that was a very predictable protect. As my Salamence goes for the Fire Blast, and it does connect with his Ferrothorn, so that's really good for me. And that's going to knock it right out. So, 3-2 in my favor, but my Salamence now, of course, is heavily damaged. Bisharp goes for a knockoff, but that's not going to do anything, of course, to the protected Mence. And this is a battle that's really going down to the wire. My opponent's last Pokemon is Gastrodon, which is actually a decent sight for me to see. Because now what I can do is... He's got to target my Salamence with his Salamence, basically. Otherwise, he's going to lose. Of course, if it has Hyper Voice, that might be really bad. I think I'm going to go for... Let's see. Because if he has Hyper Voice, then he can just Hyper Voice and then Earth Power my Bisharp, and that's going to knock out both of my Pokemon, which is bad news. So I'm going to play this safe. I'm going to protect my Bisharp and switch out to Rotom. But the question is how fast his Salamence is. Mine is speedy, but not like timid max speed, which is the main issue. So I don't want to just lose Salamence. That would be really bad. And I don't think Knockoff might be able to knock out. I'm going to go for the Knockoff onto Gastrodon and go for the Draco onto his Salamence. Okay, he doesn't have the Hyper Voice, which is really good. Actually going for the Facade, which is good news. Or good for me to know. Bisharp's going to get this knockoff off against Gastrodon. Not going to be able to knock it out, though. It actually has Expert Belt, as he's going to get an Earth Power off against Bisharp. This is really coming down to the wire. And the Facade, of course, is good to see. Just a normal type attack in general is going to give that some trouble, because, of course, I've got Rotom Wash here in the back. And Mega Salamence actually can't do very much to Rotom. I'm going to double Protect here to scout out for a Protect on his end. So we'll see what he goes for. See, I really probably could have switched out my Salamence to Rotom that last turn. And focused my efforts on the Salamence. He is going to protect the Salamence, so by double protecting here, I basically force that out of him. As Bisharp's going to protect, as is Rotom Wash, of course. So, pretty useless turn there. I guess I could have predicted that and Sucker Punch the Gastrodon, but we see the Muddy Water coming out of it as well. So now, of course, I can just Sucker Punch the Salamence, but I think I'm actually going to Sucker Punch the Gastrodon. Seeing how he had an Expert Belt and attacked that last turn, that indicates to me he probably isn't carrying Recover, which is the one move I'd be really worried about. So I'm going to try to knock out the Gastrodon there, and I'm going to go for the Will-O-Wisp onto Salamence. I know he's got Facade, and he goes for the Protect. Perfect. That's exactly what I thought he might go for. Like I said, I smartly am going to target this Gastrodon, so call that fortunately well enough. And I still go for the Will-O-Wisp here, because even though he's got Facade, because Aerial Aid, of course, boosts, turns his Return into Flying type, that's not going to do anything against a Rotom Wash. So I'm perfectly fine burning him there, and now I can just safely Sucker Punch and T-Bolt. Though I'm actually going to double Protect this turn just to get some free burn damage off, and this should be a win on my end. Gastrodon, it's pretty rare to see an offensive variant like the one my opponent ran. It's very common to see a more bulky, say, Leftovers, Rindo Berry, Citrus Berry with Recover, stuff like that. He actually has Earthquake, okay. So trying to target the Bisharp there, but obviously not going to do anything, as I get another turn of Burn, and now I can just Sucker Punch and T-Bolt. That, plus the Burn, plus another turn of Protect from Rotom should be enough to seal this game up. But let's see how much Sucker Punch does, as Mega Salamence is very bulky. So this is a +1. Oh, wow. Critical hit there. Okay, so closing out the game with a bit of luck, but obviously didn't matter at that point given the situation. And I am going to take a 2-0 win against my opponent in a really exciting battle. The first turn definitely scared me a lot, and him staying in with Ferrothorn was also very smart. After losing Sylveon, I thought I'd be in a lot of trouble, but managed to pull through, and it's really nice because I was really expecting, I guess, that one turn where he brought in his own Salamence. I mean, obviously, it helped that I had Bisharp there to get the Defiant boost. So, battle of the Mega Salamences, but my team is going to pull through this time around. So, that was a really fun battle to start off today's episode. We are going to look for a second trainer now. Rating right now is currently around 1700, so of course we're aiming for a final rating, or not a final rating, but as we continue with the series of over 1800 or 1900. 1900 is the real goal. But 1800 is pretty difficult to come into as it is. But we're going to find our second opponent of the day right now. And yeah, in general, I'm liking how the team functions. Mega Salamence was actually very, very helpful in that matchup, especially with the fast Fire Blast. I think that makes it really, really scary. Second opponent's going to be a 1634 rated player from Japan with another very kind of standardish team. Not standard in the sense that these are Pokemon you see a lot, though most of them are. We've got Weavile, Terrakion, Charizard, Suicune, Aegislash, and Amoonguss. So that is a very threatening kind of 6. He's got a potential beat-up combo with Weavile and Terrakion. That's definitely very scary to deal with. Though Sylveon checks that pretty well. Thundurus, of course, doesn't want to take Rock Slides from the Terrakion as well. I feel like Landorus Thundurus is actually a pretty good lead for me here. Though the Weavile does scare that off a considerable amount. Knocking out Weavile is going to be the first goal, because otherwise I feel pretty good about the matchup. Salamence is going to be good as well. Let's see. Rotom Wash would be good, but potential Solar Beam from the Charizard. Amoonguss. Amoonguss is really the one thing annoying me on his team right now. If you didn't have that, I'd feel a lot better about this matchup, but Redirection is very, very annoying to deal with. I think I'm actually going to go with Salamence Rotom as my lead, with Bisharp in the back. And for my last one, I'm thinking Thundurus. Though Landorus would be really nice as well, actually. It's between those two. You know what? I'm going to go with Landorus. I feel like having 2 Ice-type resist is good enough. But the question is whether keeping Sylveon out of the battle is a good idea or not, because it can really threaten the potential Weavile Terrakion lead, but otherwise not going to do very much. The one reason I wouldn't really want to bring Landorus is because of Suicune, which already gives my team enough trouble, but Rotom Wash should be able to help out against that. I think Landorus is more important to get super effective attacks off against my opponent's team. So I'm going to lock in and go with Salamence, Rotom, Bisharp, and Landorus team. So bunch of interesting things on my opponent's team. The Mega, of course, is definitely that Charizard. Probably Charizard Y, I'd assume, but of course there's a potential it is Charizard X. But if it is Charizard X, then none of his Pokemon have resistance to Earthquake, or immune to Earthquake, which would be bad news for him. He's going to go with the Terrakion Weavile lead, as I go with Salamence and Rotom. So not the best, but also not the worst. And I say that because I get the Intimidate off against both of his Pokemon, which of course is always really, really good. But the Weavile, of course, threatens my Salamence. I can Mega Evolve this first turn. The question is whether he's going to go for the Beat Up combo or not. He can, say, just Beat Up and go for a Rock Slide. And if he does do that, that would spell trouble for me. I can Protect with Salamence and go for the potential Will-O-Wisp onto Terrakion, which is the play I'm leaning towards right now. I'm definitely going to Mega Evolve Salamence here. I'm going to make the safe play. Mega Evolve, Protect, and Will-O-Wisp the Terrakion. He's going to stay in with both of his Pokemon, no reason not to. He's got a pretty advantageous lead set up here. I guess the only really bad thing is if he goes for the Beat Up and then Close Combats my Rotom, but if he does do that, then I can bring in my Landorus, get another Intimidate off, and then Salamence should be able to take a -2 Ice Punch from Weavile, because I'll be able to bring in my Landorus for free. He's actually going to Protect with the Terrakion, though. Going for the Icy Wind. Wow, didn't expect that coming out of Weavile. That's going to slow my Rotom, but fortunately enough, I did Protect with Salamence there, so good for Salamence protecting there, as the Will-O-Wisp here is not going to do anything either. But I'll take that. Now the question is what I want to do with Salamence. I think it's very tempting to just go straight for the return, but I'm not sure if that can actually knock out Terrakion. I can return the Terrakion, and Looking at my opponent's team, he's most likely got the Charizard Y in the back along with Suicune. That would be my guess for my opponent's last two. So conserving Rotom is somewhat important to beat the Suicune, but you know what? I am going to go straight for the... I could also Fire Blast the Weavile and Hydro Pump the Terrakion, which could actually knock it out. Oh, decisions. You know what? I'm going to go for the return onto Terrakion and the Thunderbolt onto Weavile. He is going to go for another Icy Wind there with Weavile, so 4 times super effective, but shouldn't do too much to Salamence, as you see there. It takes it pretty well. It's going to decrease our speeds, of course, but let's see. Salamence is going to be able to outspeed the Terrakion, going to get a return off. That is quite a bulky Terrakion. I'm actually going to avoid the Rock Slide there, so fortunate avoid there, as Salamence is going to take some more damage from that Rock Slide. But Rotom here is going to at least get a Thunderbolt off against the Weavile. That's going to bring it down to around 60%. So now I'm just going to go for another return onto the Salamence and go for a Hydro Pump onto Terrakion. Terrakion's the bigger threat right now. He is going to go for that beat-up combo, as I mentioned earlier in Team Preview. And the question is whether he goes for a Rock Slide or a Close Combat. I don't think a Rock Slide can actually KO my Rotom, so I should be able to at least knock out the Terrakion. But we'll see. This is a really threatening duo, and my lack of ways to deal with Ice types is slightly concerning. So that Terrakion is at +3 now, after all the beat-ups. Let's see. He's going to go for the Rock Slide. Okay, not opting to Close Combat the Rotom for the KO. You see, Rotom is able to hang on. Will would be able to get this Hydro Pump off, though I really needed to connect. First, though, it's going to eat its Citrus Berry, of course. But if I flinch here, that's going to spell trouble for me. Hydro Pump! Oh, misses the Terrakion. That's really unfortunate. I guess I could have Thunderbolted there, but seeing how little Weavile took from that and how little Return did, I figured maybe Thunderbolt wouldn't actually be able to knock it out, but that's an unfortunate whiff there, as that's going to set me back a considerable amount. I'm going to bring in Bisharp now, but things are not looking too hot, I'm going to be honest. So Bisharp gives me some leeway in this matchup, but the question is what I do. I think Protect with Rotom and just Iron Head is the best play. But he might just double into my Bisharp with the Icy Wind and a Close Combat. Yeah, if I were him, I would Icy Wind and Close Combat to knock out the Bisharp before it could do anything. So you know what? I'm going to Protect with my Bisharp and just Thunderbolt the Terrakion. I don't know if Thunderbolt can knock it out because this Rotom really doesn't have special attack EVs. So I'm going to go for the Hydro Pumper again. Let's see if he doubles into the Bisharp, which is really what I'm anticipating him to do. He does go for the Ice Shard, which is good news. Oh, he just went for the Close Combat. Really? Okay, that's going to knock out Rotom. This is a pretty rough loss on my end. Weavile Terrakion kind of just blew through me. I guess a way I could have mitigated this was by leading with my Bisharp, but that lead actually gives me a lot of trouble, which is quite scary. So I'm going to go for the Iron Head. Yeah, I mean, he can just Ice Shard Rock Slide me, and that's going to be game. Yeah, I'm going to Iron Head the Terrakion, just U-turn, I guess, the Weavile. There's really not much I could have done. This lead matchup kind of wrecked me. He's going to Protect with the Terrakion, though. Don't know why. Going for the Icy Wind, that's like going to give me a Defiant boost. I mean, of course, my opponent's already so ahead, he's going to lock this game up already, but I think he should have just attacked there. But at least that's going to give me the nice Defiant boost, as Landorus' speed falling also is going to hurt it, but gonna go for the Choice Band U-turn here to at least knock out the Weavile. So that was a really unfortunate miss onto the Terrakion. Had I hit that, this game would be considerably different, I think. But unfortunately, you know, the chance of hitting a Hydro Pump after getting Rock Slide, it is relatively slim. He is going to bring in his Suicune. Okay. Once again, don't think there's very much I could do at this point, but I'm still gonna try at least. Gonna go for the Sucker Punch to knock out Terrakion and a U-turn, since I'm locked into that, onto the Suicune. He's not going to switch out Terrakion, so hopefully Sucker Punch here can knock it out, as it does. So at least not an embarrassing 4-0 loss for me here. Let's see. Oh, he's gonna go for the Tailwind with Suicune. Okay. I mean, if there's any way I can come back into this game, I guess it's if you allow me to get all these attacks off, but I presume he's got Charizard Y in the back, and Charizard Y, of course, can just close this game up. So, just delaying the inevitable, I guess, but that looks like Aegislash to me. Well, I guess if there's any way I can win this battle, it's like this. Suddenly we have a game on our hands, though it's basically going to rely on Bisharp. There's really no way I can win with Landorus locked into U-turn. But now the question is whether Aegislash attacks or whether it King Shields or even goes for a substitute. I think the temptation here is to just knock off the Suicune, or Sucker Punch the Suicune. I mean, in all fairness, he's most definitely going to... If I were him, I would substitute with Aegislash, because if you attack, you just lose your Aegislash and you lose the game. So, you know what? I'm going to go for the Sucker Punch onto Suicune and the U-turn as well, since of course I'm locked into it. He is going to King Shield here, so this can be won, guys. It's not over yet. Bisharp is going to get a +2 Sucker Punch off against Suicune. Can it knock it out? Oh, he just misses out. But if he scalds Bisharp, then I can get a U-turn off. He is going to go for the scald. Who is it going to target? Landorus T can... Okay, targets Bisharp. Don't burn me. Yes, it doesn't burn as Landorus gets the U-turn off as well against Suicune. Will it knock it out? Oh, it doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. That was rough. That was really rough, guys. Had I picked up the KO there, I think I could have actually won the game. But now... now it's not looking like that. He's probably... I'm surprised he didn't substitute there with Aegislash. Maybe that means he doesn't have substitute. You know what? I'm going to go for the Sucker Punch onto Aegislash and the U-turn onto Suicune. Well, let me just think this turn through. If I Sucker Punch the Suicune, I can probably pick up a knockout there. But the thing is, what moves Aegislash carries and whether it can knock out my Bisharp or not. If he doesn't attack with Aegislash, then I can just knock out Suicune, of course. This is really tough, guys. This is tough. You know what? I'm gonna Sucker Punch Suicune. Ah! Oh, it fails, too! As he... Oh, smart. Oh, and he... No! He did attack with Aegislash. All I had to do was Sucker Punch Aegislash and U-turn Suicune. Oh, I read too much into that. Oh, but Bisharp hangs on with 1 HP! This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. Oh my god. But yeah, I still should have just Sucker Punched the Aegislash here. Of course, now I can Sucker Punch once again, but I mean, there's no way he's going to attack. And I don't want to actually waste my Sucker Punch PP. Oh, but Tailwind is going to wear off anyway, so I'm just going to go for the Sucker Punch and the U-turn. He's got a King Shield here. Oh, he's just going to attack! I'm going to win this battle! What? What a choke on my opponent's end, but I'm going to be able to take the second game 2-0. Bisharp and Landorus T somehow clutching it through despite a terrible, terrible start against his Weavile Terrakion lead. Wow, today's battles could not have been any more exciting. All my opponent had to do was basically Ice Shard and Rock Slide, but he was probably assuming my Terrakion was Choice Scarf. Of course, I actually run Choice Band Landorus, Careful Nature, and it's relatively slow, so I guess with that knowledge, it makes sense why he made the play he did, but you know, he made all these passive plays, Tailwinding with Suicune, etc., but I guess I found the one way I could have ended up winning this match. Today's episode was really, really exciting, guys. I really hope you enjoyed those battles. That was pretty crazy. But that's it for today's episode, guys. As always, leave a like if you enjoyed it and want to see another video tomorrow. And yeah, guys, happy early Christmas to those that celebrate it, or Merry Christmas to those that are already in those time zones. And I'll see you tomorrow, guys. All right, peace.